What is up, you guys? We are here for our weekly energy oracle forecast where we are taking a look at the week ahead to see what kind of energy we will be living and moving and having our being in. Ooh, we have the Earth card. I always see a lot of things when I see this card. I see put your money where your mouth is, take action, make sure that you have like a sound routine and a solid plan. You don't have to overdo it. Like step-by-step consistency goes further than like cramming for a test the night before, right? So I also always see that this card is like speaking life, speak blessings, speak abundance into your life. Our mouths are very powerful, magical tools. They are portals of life and death. When you divide or when you categorize the living kingdoms of Earth, you have the mineral kingdom, the animal or the plant kingdom or the vegetative kingdom, the animal kingdom, and the speaking kingdom. We're not just called the human kingdom. We are called the speaking kingdom. That's what sets us apart, especially from the other kingdoms, from the animal kingdom. We could take our consciousness, our thoughts, and turn them into words. As magical, miraculous beings, we can, our mouths are very powerful. And so we can speak life into our life, or we can speak curses onto our life. So mind your thoughts. Don't let your head fill with weeds. Instead, let it fill with trees. Trees have deep roots and they grow high and they can withstand wind and trees. Like I've watched them before in the South. We have these fast moving thunderstorms that come in, and oftentimes throughout the year when we have these times where it's been cold and then it suddenly warms up and it's been cold, we've got a lot of tornado weather all the time. And so I live, my house backs up to a forest. And so there are times when we've had tornadoes happening where it looks like there is not going to be a tree standing by the end of it. Like they are bending, they are moving, they are swaying. But the trees, they're flexible, they're not rigid, and their roots are so deep into the ground that it holds them steady during the winds of change, right? Our consciousness, when it's rooted in our firm certainty in God's goodness in our life, we are unshakable, we are unbreakable. We have roots that go down into solid, firm ground. And so we can stand on that during times of uncertainty and during times of storms, right? So we want these trees to grow high towards the heavens, right? We want our consciousness to elevate and soar. Now, what do trees do? They make oxygen. They make the breath of life. So your thoughts are going to either breathe life into you or they're going to be weeds that suffocate the good vegetation. Your thoughts inform the kind of words that are coming out of your mouth. Or you can stop those in their tracks with your consciousness, right? If you start having doomsday thoughts or thoughts of negativity or thoughts of lack and scarcity and fear, you can stop those in their tracks before they come out of your mouth, right? You can say, you know what, my head is not in the right place today. I need to have emotional sovereignty. I need to have mental clarity and mind over matter. I need to have mental self-control. And before I speak poison into my life, before I speak toxicity, I need to check myself. I need to get quiet and I need to practice restriction. The supernal feminine power of the universe, there's a supernal feminine power and a supernal masculine power. And these are like the root energies that everything else is like sourced from. Everything's combined from there. The feminine power is restriction, it's restraint, it's structure, it is boundary. The masculine supernal power is raw dynamism, it's fire, it's movement. It's erratic. It needs that restriction in order to form something meaningful, in order to take shape, right? So the power of that supernal feminine is the fertile. It's like she's also referred to as the infertile mother, right? The dark infertile mother. And so it's the darkness and the stillness that we have to sit in, eyes closed, stillness, sitting in stillness with our breath and quiet, in order to quiet the mind, to quiet the chatter inside, and to find that space that allows for all the new illumination to come through. And when we are in that space, that's when we can truly hear the voice of the Holy Spirit's guidance, the voice of our own higher self speaking to us, right? But without that discipline to sit in that stillness and to observe the thoughts, detach from the thoughts, and choose otherwise, we have no sovereignty, we have no free will, and we can't hear the voice of the Spirit leading us, and we can't have insights, we can't have revelation, because they come from the depths of the silence within us. So this week, we need to be very mindful to grow positive, life-giving thoughts and consciousness, and to speak that consciousness into existence, right? And we think about when I see this, I feel like it's like a manifestation, like we're manifesting things. Things are coming into fruition. Things that have been ideas and thoughts and desires are coming into physicality. They're being birthed forth into creation. So it takes discipline, it takes self-control, but I think that beautiful things can happen this week if we can choose with clarity, choose with consciousness, choose with sovereignty to believe for the highest good and to speak the highest good. Okay, let's grab another card. Let's see. Ooh, harmony. I love this. So we understand that. So in the united we stand, divided we fall. I think, where is that? On the quarter, on the money, on the dollar? I don't know. It's something that is like one of the mottos of the United States. But also, this is a mystic understanding and a spiritual truth. It's a spiritual law. And the Israelites knew this. They were taught this under the law of Moses, that if they are united, they will have power. They can almost be, if they are indivisible and united, they are unstoppable. But when you are divided and you sow division and you sow separation, then you cut yourself off from your blessings. So that is why witches meet in covens of 10. That is why Jews pray in minions of 10. There is a power in people's, when you gather in groups and you pray together. What happens is that the angelic presence that takes your prayers up, when you're praying alone, you are at their judgment. They look at your deeds, they look at your merit. But when you gather in groups, that bypasses the individual merit. And it's like the cheat code, right? So one reason why unity is more successful, and that's why radical groups tend to be successful, because it is their unity and their brotherhood, right? What do they teach you in gangs? How do they get people into gangs and into cults? They give them a sense of unity. They give them a sense of community and togetherness and support, and, oh, we've got your back. They prey on people who have never had that. And so they give them a sense of power, and because they are acting in unity, they get away with their plans and their goals. So we, in life, need to foster unity amongst our circles and our groups and our communities and with one another. Even just as you go throughout your life as an individual, if you are united in love, in love for your neighbor, that is a protective force around you. And it actually gives you more efficacy in your aims. It attracts blessings to you. The reason why is that the more that we share likeness with God, the closer we draw to God. It is like the law of attraction, like attracts like. And so things that are in vibrational resonance, they can draw close to one another. They're drawn together, whereas things that are vibrationally dissonant are repellent. When we share the consciousness of God, which is unconditional love and eternal immanence of sharing, right? When we are in creator consciousness versus destroyer consciousness, when we are in unity consciousness versus separation consciousness, when we are in sharing consciousness versus taker consciousness, that actually makes us like the creator, like God, like Jesus Christ. So we pull towards God, and we get into that vibrational, what we've heard people say, oh, I'm in flow, I'm flowing, I'm on, right? And you've seen people on, and you're like, you are on, you are in flow, you are like in the zone. And you felt it too when you're in the zone, and it's like you can't be stopped. You could sink a 3-point shot, right? And you're just like, nothing can stop me right now. It is the harmony, and when you draw into that vibration, you're under the wing, the protective wing of the creator. So when we become divisive and hateful and prejudiced and go against one another, or even like say if you start sowing bad seeds about someone that you work with, like things are going to start getting chaotic for you and bad for you. Maybe at work, maybe your money starts going bad, maybe you get like all of a sudden you get a bunch of car trouble, but it will sow seeds of chaos into your life. So the more that we harmonize, the more that we embrace harmony, the more fluidity our manifestations and our abundance can flow. Look at what's happening with the oligarchs right now. The whole world is revolting in hundreds of thousands, 100,000 people. Maybe it was like 300,000. I can't remember the last report of how many people gathered in Serbia. It was breathtaking to see it. The places all over the world with these fascist leaders, they are revolting, right? And in the United States, the boycotts are working. These big companies, their stocks are plummeting. And I just watched a video of this guy who literally peeled apart a Tesla truck with his bare hands. No tools necessary. He broke the car apart with just his hands. It is that cheaply made. It is that much of a con, of a scam. Like it's all a facade, and it is a crumbling facade, and it is coming down. Stocks are tanking, like everything that props these people up, it's crashing. Think about the movie Mean Girls when they decide to take Regina, what's-her-face down and the plastics down. They're like, go after her resources, go after her friends, go after her good looks and all her charm, and they take her out. It's working. So that's because people are in harmony with loving their neighbor and coming together and doing the right thing and protecting starving children's hot lunch at school. I mean, the only meal that they might get in a day, right? Like, it's so fucked up. I mean, even as an adult that works 5 or 6 days a week at a good place where I'm supposedly making, above the poverty line and in the middle income range, I can only afford to eat like one meal a day. Right? So what about these children who are in families where there's, a whole family having to survive on a lower middle income to poverty? They're starving. And so we have to look out for our neighbor. We have to leave that corner of the field for the orphan and for the widow and for the stranger. And we can't turn our back on that, and we can't be so stupid that we're going to buy in to these lies. And they're the lies of Satan. That is what they are. This is the Antichrist, like channeling forward through the channels of darkness. And so harmony. We choose love, and we choose togetherness, and we are bound in love for our neighbor. Real love, and not just the neighbor that's in our gated community or in our private school, or that looks like the way that we think that they should, or believes that the way that we believe they should. We include, right? And so all these people sowing division and hate and taking the meals and medicine away from our most vulnerable people, our children, our disabled, and our elderly, they're tanking. Their net worth is tanking. And no one is going to stand for it. Not even the rural people who were hoodwinked, because now they're going to figure out that they don't have hospitals to go to. They don't have the funding that they didn't realize that they were benefiting from. Like, they don't understand that they're going to understand when the consequences hit them and they don't have their basic needs met. And then they understand, oh, no one's looking out for me except for the people who I was told were my enemy, right? So harmony, speaking life, speaking blessings, right? Speaking the truth, speaking love into the world, right? Shedding light into the world, not darkness. So we are reaching for harmony. Okay, what do we have here? Ooh, oh my gosh, love and beginnings. I love this. We are moving towards a spring. Remember when the Arab Spring happened? Remember when the people revolted and they overthrew their tyrannical governments, and it was a huge deal? The world is looking at a hot summer, and I'm excited about it. And love is leading the way. And that's going to be in our lives individually, and it's going to be in our lives as a collective. Love wins. Love wins every time. Love is something to celebrate. There was a Dropkick Murphy show where the whole crowd, the whole audience in this huge venue, were cheering and supporting their damnation of the fascist regime and the agenda that's happening right now. And there was this one little MAGA over in the corner waving his hat, and everyone turned on him. And that was a huge crowd of people, and he was the only one there waving his little hat for hate. And you know what? They could have trampled him in a mosh pit easily, but they didn't. They were peaceful, they were loving, but they booed him and they disapproved, and they made their point. But we are standing strong. Even the people, I just saw a thing where even the people of Texas booed at a bar when the bar or the restaurant or the bar turned the channel on Fox News. And even the people of Texas booed, we can't watch this, we don't want to watch this, change the channel. That's Texas, okay? This is a very red state we're talking about. So even a lot of Republicans right now don't agree with what's happening, and they can't believe that they had been fooled so deeply. And so we are not just a half and half split anymore. We're leaning towards love, and there's going to be a new beginning. Now, on an individual level, I believe that we are in this huge new timeline, and we are beginning to write our new story. We have still been finishing up 2024 because in the elemental year, we're still in winter. And so as we approach spring, and look at the beginning card here, we have new life, we have the cherry blossoms, which are synonymous with spring, and that fleeting freshness that they're so fast, they come so quick and they're gone so fast, right? But they're so precious, and that's why everyone cherishes the cherry blossoms. But they're a symbol of renewal and rebirth, and there is a rebirth of love on a deeper level than we've ever known it coming, and that is on an individual level, and it is in a collective level. And I'm excited to see it. And I think that the more love that we can embrace and the excitement that this new season is bringing us, I think that beautiful things are going to start happening and they're going to start taking off. But this is that initial, the initial turbulence and chaos that we see when we start to break, the water breaks, right? When you're going to give birth, your water breaks and then the contractions start and the pain starts and it gets to be a bloody mess, right? But through it, new life comes through. So don't be discouraged. Good things are coming. Beautiful things are coming in your life. And so if you have felt like you're trying to pursue this dream or this maybe mini dreams in your heart, and you're feeling like you're in this haze of like feeling like stagnant and like nothing's ever going to happen. Like, it is very easy to look at the state of the world and think that nothing is ever going to be good again, and we're never going to have fun again, and nothing's ever going to be funny again. And that's not the case. It's not. And we are going to have a rebirth within ourselves, and we are going to have a new sense of hope and excitement and lust for life. And our dreams are not dead. In fact, we're in the wilderness right now. Lent is a season of challenge and wilderness. And Jesus was out in that wilderness fasting for 40 days. And he was tempted by the devil to give up 3 times. Give up. Give up. Don't do this. Don't lay yourself down for these people. They don't even understand what you're saying, and they're not going to for another 2,000 years. It's going to take the second coming of the Christ consciousness reawakening for them to even begin to understand what you've been saying, no matter how plainly you say it. It's not very hard to understand the Sermon on the Mount. It's pretty straightforward and clear cut. There are so many things in the Bible that are just plainly said, and yet people are just so thick, they don't get it. But they're getting it now, and they're beginning to. Many of us are, and many of the people who are getting it are just like the last time. The Gentiles, right? The non-believers. The non-believers know clearly who Jesus is. And it's not that they don't believe in Jesus. They don't believe in the church. They don't believe in the lies and the agenda that has been coming through this twisted agenda that's been coming out of the evangelicalism since the 70s, right? If you look at Christian writings and books before like the 70s, it was like they were moderate, good, nice, virtuous, gentle people. Of course, there were people who were extremists, and of course, there were people who, victimized those who were different, and killed in the name of Jesus. But that was not the average person, right? The average Christian back in, like the 1940s were good people who, gave to charity and were kind to their neighbor, and they weren't harassing people, and they weren't going out after people like they are now. It's like the other day at my restaurant, like these MAGA Christians tried to corner this girl when she was by herself with them on the patio, and they start Bible beating her and like confronting her and bullying her, asking her like, "Are you gay? You better not be gay," and like telling her she should read her Bible. And it's like, this is just a nice girl. She's not gay. She's just a nice Christian girl who's like, I'm already like, and they just cornered her because she was young and she was put in a position where she can't defend herself like she would have on the streets if she were me, because you don't want to lose your job, right? So it's dirty. It's bullying, and that's not going to stand, right? This is not the kind of Christianity that my grandparents had. This isn't even the kind of Christianity that one of my parents holds, and so it is an agenda that got started by the Republican Party in the 1970s, in the Reagan era, in the 70s, early 80s, that wanted to radicalize the Christian evangelicals because they were the biggest growing group, and they wanted to ensure that vote, and they wanted them to support all of their warmongering and all the ways that they wanted to make themselves rich and powerful by going out and slaughtering innocent people and growing their fortunes on the backs of everyone else, poisoning people and exploiting people and enslaving people and oppressing people, all by making them so afraid and so terrified and so scared because the end times are coming and the revelation or whatever. Even if it is, they're still, those other people are so confused. They don't see the prophecies playing out. They don't see their golden calf. I mean, my God, now I just saw that there's like golden MAGA boots, golden cowboy boots with American flags with the T on them. Like, this is something out of a this is something out of Idiocracy. This is something from Beavis and Butthead. This is something from South Park. This is something from The Simpsons. This shouldn't be like real, like real life. And it unfortunately is. It's insane. But this is not going to last forever. And I don't really believe they're going to prevail. I think that they want us to sit in fear and be frozen in fear, thinking that we have no other choice and that this is just the way it's going to be. But it's not, because we outnumber them, and because love wins, and because Jesus, the real Jesus Christ, who loves his neighbor and who went and cavorted with the Gentiles when he was told not to. They were the ones that accepted him first. They were the ones with the strongest faith. They were the ones that had the belief, and they were healed. They saw miracles, right? And so yet again, if Jesus were walking the earth now, he would probably have trans people and immigrants and all of these riffraff and motley crew. And this ragtag team of misfits would be gathered again alongside of him. So I feel rambunctious. I feel hopeful. I am sleeping with one eye open, but I have certainty that God's goodness and that the real truth of Christ will be revealed in the midst of all of this tribulation. The revelation will come. An apocalypse is a showing of what has been corrupt, and the fall and the breaking apart of what is in wrongness and in corruption, to reveal a revelation of greater light and illumination and a new radiance. And a new radiance is upon us. And I believe that so wholeheartedly, because so many of the people and women who were traumatized by Christian fundamentalists and who had left the church are starting to hear the voice of real love being preached again through some unexpected places, and it's getting people to pay attention again. Like the gospel pastor, my gosh, I wish I remembered his name right off the bat right now, but he just did a freaking killer sermon in Atlanta, like advocating for women and standing up for women and shaming the misogyny that we've had to endure, and the subjugation and the objectification and the exploitation. And I mean, that I've watched the clip of his sermon so many times, and every time it just gets me like sobbing every time, because it's just so hopeful. But this one chick who was doing a reaction video to it, she left the church scorned, never to look back. And she was like, you know what, this is the first time that I've actually thought about getting in the car and going down there and visiting that church to hear what he's got to say, because this is the first time I've heard a voice like this actually speaking out for women like this, and shaming the oppression of women and speaking out for women instead of trying to preach puritanical shaming of women and submission, right? I've heard that too my whole life. I sat there and listened to my mom's mentor tell my mother that she needed to be more submissive for taking up for herself, when my dad was a misogynistic, sexist, just cruel, like avoidant, abusive many times. Like, so I've watched it all and I've seen it all play out before my eyes. It's just lucky for me that I knew the difference between who Jesus was and the fallibility of men and people and human beings. Not that women aren't in that too. I mean, mankind, not just men. So I think good things are happening, but I think horrible things are happening also. But the good will be revealed because it is being provoked like a mother bear right now. And this is the tribulation that brings forth the revelation. Whether you believe the book of Revelations literally or figuratively or symbolically, so much of these prophecies are happening right now because the human shift in consciousness is happening. We shifted from Pisces into the age of Aquarius. So we have literally shifted into a new aeon, a new era. And so the whole state of human consciousness is shifting. And so things are going to be turbulent because it's like, okay, so think about when the Earth's tectonic plates move, it creates earthquakes, right, of different magnitudes. This is a quake of consciousness because the tectonic plates of our understanding and our consciousness are completely shifting. So it's breaking up all of the structures that were built upon falsehood and lies and exploitation and hate and oppression. All of those things are having to be shaken up and crumble down before we can see the new light come through. And so we are living in the midst of that earthquake right now. But we will get to the other side of this. We will. But the astrology of this year has never existed in the human history since like the advent of speech. I just went to a lecture at the beginning of the year, and she pointed out that this level of like astrological events on this scale hasn't happened since humans developed speech. So this is an enormous shift that will change the trajectory of humankind. And so it's not going to happen without disruption. And I know the other side is saying that their disruption is the purge and they're the cleansing, but that's the way that the Bible talks about how the Antichrist will pull the wool over people's eyes to make them think what's good is bad and what's bad is good. It's like when a con artist wants to earn your trust, they tell you that they're going to reveal the truth to you. And then people are like, oh, well, they're the ones that are going to tell me the truth, so I can trust them. And then they turn around and just tell them lies. That's how it works. I know for myself as a salesperson in a restaurant, and I'm not a con artist, but I tell the truth because I want people to enjoy their meal. Like, I'm honest, and I'm going to average out the same amount, roughly anyway. So if somebody asks me if something is good on the menu and I don't think it's good, if they try to order the mahi, I'm like, no, it's the worst thing on the menu. And they're like, I trust you now because you told me what was bad. You told me like you're supposed to be saying that this is also good and you're supposed to be selling me on this. But if you tell me there's a bad item, that I know I can trust you and trust you to tell me what's good. Now, fortunately, I am a person that's honest and I am telling them what's good. But if I were a con artist, that's the way that I would know how to earn people's trust. That's exactly what's happening right now on a global scale, right? And most of the world is not buying it. And hopefully more and more people are waking up. There are some that are just lost. They're lost causes. There's no way you're going to get through to them because they are also narcissists. Sociopathic narcissism attracts other sociopathic narcissists. So the diehards are sociopathic narcissists who don't admit to fault. And sociopathology and narcissism are not something necessarily, they're not conditions that you're born with. They're conditions that are sort of developed over time, and it is almost like an individual's choices and their choice of their consciousness that allows them to either be broken free of that or they double down in it. And so most people end up They're not open enough. They're too defensive, so they shut people out. They become avoidant, and they double down in their narcissism. Some people are redeemable, others are not. So you're seeing this happen right now. There's so much contrast. There's such a divide. But you'll see that some people are waking up. And the sad part is that there's a lot of people in the middle that don't agree, but they're too scared to speak up, and they put their head down. And this is exactly what happened in 1930s Europe when the beginning of the Holocaust started happening. It was like most people didn't believe in what the Nazis were doing, but they were too intimidated or too embarrassed, or they didn't want to get involved. They just wanted to stay out of it. Oh, I don't like politics. They just turned a blind eye. And they wanted to stay out of it, and they didn't get involved. And that is the thing that allowed, the complacency is what allowed for the travesty of the Holocaust to happen. So we are not complacent. And there are many people that are speaking up and speaking out and being wise with their money. Amazon's lost billions of dollars. Target is almost tanked. All of the blackouts and the boycotts are working. And it's usually like the marches and stuff do get to people and maybe can change individual minds. But if we want to change the corporation and that climate and the actual policy, it's the dollars that make the difference. And so you have to ruin these people. You have to liquidate their companies, sell off your stocks, put it in a gold IRA instead, right? So we will not be silenced, we will not be stopped, and we will not be oppressed. And we don't have to destroy people's property. We don't have to do anything, to harm another person. We can simply just not spend money on the things that they want us to spend money on. Like, no one can force you to buy certain things. Right. So the next blackout is Nestle. Any Nestle product, we're not buying that right now. We just finished the Amazon blackout. A lot of people have canceled their subscriptions. Mine's paid yearly, so I can't. It's already paid for. But we can do this collectively. Costco has raised their employees' hourly wage to $30 an hour, and they refuse to roll back their diversity, equity, and inclusivity programs. So everyone is applauding Costco. Costco's revenue has soared, and good for them. And so I hope that is a growing trend that other companies will see, and they'll follow suit. All right, you guys, your actions and your lack of spending makes the biggest difference. So be at peace and be of good cheer. Our inner peace and our joy make us very powerful. Vibrationally speaking, it aligns us with miracles. It aligns us with the protection and provision of the force of God. The Holy Spirit, the Shekhinah, the Spirit of God, the influence of God that you see come over your life and you feel it can't connect with you if you're in a state of hatred or fear or sadness or despair, because it doesn't have vibrational likeness with that. So if you can find ways to give yourself resources and tools to get yourself back into that state of inner peace, of optimism, of hope, of belief, of certainty, right? You want to keep that peace. You want to keep that inner joy. Joy is something you can have even in the midst of sadness. Happiness is fleeting. It's a surface level emotion, but true joy, you can have joy no matter what. You can have that joy inside of you that allows you to laugh in moments of grief, right? It can take you through a day where you don't have the will to get out of bed. But if you can just have an ounce of joy and force yourself to get up, put on your shoes, go for a run, get yourself some endorphins. Try to do anything you can to generate at least enough joy to get through the day. And maybe that tomorrow you will remember the things that you love, and maybe they'll bring you a little bit more happiness and joy that day. But maybe some days you feel like there's nothing matters anymore, like nothing brings me any satisfaction. Nothing seems to have any kind of vividness. You just feel depressed and you feel despair. If you can force yourself to do anything that you can that gets your mood a little bit more elevated, and do that again the next day and do that again the next day, then you'll pull yourself out of that pit. And I've had to do it for myself many times. Be determined. I know a guy who used to have debilitating depression, and he lived with it. And he took medication, and he did everything he could to try to lift himself out of this depression. But I don't know how it happened, but suddenly he went from being an agnostic to being a believer. And I saw a complete turnaround in him. And so, to me, I don't know how I would get through life if I didn't have daily prayer practice and a connection with my God and with Jesus Christ and with the Holy Spirit, right? I can be by myself and not feel lonely, but I can be in a crowd of people and feel incredibly lonely. But I'm never alone when I have that relationship, and that's really strong. So I encourage you to pursue it for yourself, and I think that will give you a foundation of that inner fulfillment and that inner peace that really can't be produced or manufactured in any other way. All right, you all, I'm sending you my love and my prayers. Peace.